I hope everybody had a nice weekend. We'll see what this week brings. It looks like we're getting some immediate volatility here to the short side. Maybe a sideways range. Whenever you see big moves like this, or whenever I see big moves like this, I'm always thinking sideways range. Because it seems to be characteristic for a market to do that. Excuse me. After a big move to perhaps flop around a little bit, go sideways. We'll see what happens here this morning, though. Actually, out of the open, we did get a green bar sell signal. So there's our first signal of the day. The eagle fell off, as it tends to do off that first signal. Let's see, did we get a signal here on the Falcon? No, not really. It's one of these signals that you can sense in hindsight. Of course, we're getting a trend change signal going on right now, but the stops would need to be incredibly deep. Let's see, did the Raptor give us a signal? No, not really. It's still early though. We're only a few minutes into the session here this morning. And let's check out here the hawk. Well, we did get the red bar buy signal that you could have shorted. So right now it looks as though just the hawk and the eagle producing that early signal to sell. Now we're into yellow bars, of course. And things bouncing around a little bit. Well, no shortage of volatility. We can't complain. We were bemoaning how slow the markets were before. Well, you can't say that anymore. So the Falcon producing a trend change signal here to the upside. Remember, if you were short, you're still working your sell signal from down there. Your stop's presumably up there somewhere. Or you just passed on the trade because trade manager says, nope, sorry, can't afford it. The trend change signal here, however, did hit its profit objective, which seems to have been very close to the median line. And look at these ranges. Look at these ranges on our support and resistance suite. This is all that volatility that's come into the market. The support and resistance zones are just spaced really far away. All right, so let's see what we're getting now. All right, so we got another green bar sell signal here. I was hoping for a second push on this entry. No, I guess I'm going to wait a little bit too long on that one. So when this signal printed, here's the green bar sell off of the hard edge. It looks like a solid signal. It has that nice little bear flag shape to it. The lows down here are an obvious concern. I was thinking about letting it flip over on the ATR, which would have made this our signal bar. Unfortunately for me, I wasn't paying close enough attention. And so I thought, well, I'll take the second push on it, but that one slipped past me also. Very characteristic of a sideways market where we see it breach the low just by a tick or two and then reverse on itself. This now on the Raptor, where we did get a double pullback signal right there. Producing another sell signal. Of course, if this fails and heads higher, we're going to have a soft edge buy. All right, let's see if we can't look at a second push on this signal if they're going to give us one. We should get a comparable signal here on our other birds also. All right, that looks like a pretty good opportunity for a second push. So all you're looking to do on a second push signal, it requires a little bit of patience because there is the chance that the market isn't going to stall, that it's going to print the signal, hesitate maybe for a few seconds, and then continue without you. That's always a danger. But, sometimes if you're not sure about the market, sometimes it's not such a bad thing to let it go. There's always going to be another signal. And after all, if we're only looking to capture a handful of trades in a day, we don't necessarily need to be chasing every signal. So we've had 1, 2, 3 hits here on the bottom now. We're making lower swing highs. That's good. Yeah, I agree. Tony says there's probably a bunch of orders sitting below here around the 47, 24, 25 mark. I took a look at Friday's session before we opened here this morning, and that was an obvious area of support. So we'll go back here now to Friday's session, and you can see all this support down here, 47, 24, 25. That spurred on the buying into the close, and that happens to be where we are once again. So you can be sure that those buyers are still interested in buying. All right, so we've also engaged our other signals. We have a macro pullback signal here. We have a trend change / late filter entry signal here. And of course now our Raptor signal. And I'm going to hold that just a little bit further back. All right, so here come the buyers now. Which again is typical of a sideways type market. All right, sellers pressing a little bit here now. If you were anxious, you could certainly bring your stops in above this little swing high. Yeah, this little hiccup down here made me wonder whether or not we were going to be able to ride that out or not. Apparently, obviously not. All right, so they don't seem all that keen on heading much lower. So that could result in the market wanting to trade higher. just making a couple notes in my journal. Oh dear, don't tell me that. My stop was just a little bit too handy. Oh, you're kidding me. Wow, they're all over the place again here. All right, coming back with more sell signals. We've got a late filter entry signal here on the Falcon. We just keep beating up on the bottom end of this trading range, nibbling away at it, but the safer play is probably to allow it to break out and then retest. This is a high probability signal though, your late filter entry signal. So it occurs right here, filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync, trend line never changes color. You print a signal, stops as far back as you can manage, given the way the market is trading today. We should see that trickle low enough to find our profit target. There we go. So unfortunately for me, my initial stop was just a little bit too tight. You can see why I encourage you to keep your stops as far away as possible here on the Raptor trade that I did. Where was it? Somewhere around here. Kept my stops up here. I should have put them up here. That's all it took. They just ran it by 3 or 4 or 5 ticks and then turned the market lower again. You know, if you feel you can't take the proper stop, you should just avoid the trade, really. So where's our next support line? Oh goodness, not until 46.86 3/4, essentially 46.87. That would be a huge, huge range. Yeah, the seller's still just crazy in control here this morning. Crude oil relatively quiet, given that the stock market is coming unglued. Crude oil kind of in this sideways range also. Few yellow bar clusters through here, suggestive of a sideways type market. That would be in your hawk scalper, of course. Oh, no problem, Tony. I take it you took advantage of it. Good for you. Tony says, thanks for calling that late filter entry signal in the NQ. That's this one right here. Nice little follow through on that. Today, I think, is a day, you're just going to have to sit on a relatively big stop or wait for a pullback. That could be what we're going to see next, is a little bit of a pullback phase. First First clue is the green bar sell here in the hawk, which tends to start printing near the end of a trend. Tony says, I'm protesting all trades that aren't profitable. It's reminiscent of that Will Rogers quote about the stock market, where he said something to the effect of, he buys stocks that goes up, and if they don't go up, he doesn't buy them. All right, looks like we could probably take two contracts, or I could take two contracts. Oh, forget that. Here we come. We're going to run them out of town again. The buyers, I mean. Actually producing a first micro-macro cross to short. I would not enter it on the hash mark, though. I think I would enter it below this low. It's only a couple extra ticks. Sometimes people say, well, if the market's going to short you at 47.17 3/4, it's going to short you at 47.16 3/4. And you're probably right. It probably will. If you short from here, of course, you're already almost halfway to your profit target. And there they go. I was just about to dial down the risk here. It's those breakouts. Never trust a breakout, a trading friend of mine used to say. Well, I'm really bummed out about my NASDAQ trade, with my stops being just a few ticks too tight. This looks like it's going to be the move of the day right here. Although, the volatility has been such that we've seen some larger moves these last few days. Yeah, so looks like no point in trying to buy anything. It appears as though the NASDAQ bent on heading lower right out of the gate. So for a whole half hour, the market's been doing nothing but heading lower. All right, so here come the buyers again. We're all the way down here to this 47.10 area, essentially 4,700, probably in the market's eyes. This is very close to Friday's lows. Yeah, or not. So we had here on the Hawk, this would be considered a 4-arrow consolidation, even though it only printed 3 times. With the 4-arrow consolidation, remember what you're kind of looking for is this flag shape. In this case, it would be a bear flag because we're in a downtrending market, and certainly meets that criteria. And it looks as though this 4th signal or 3rd signal, as it was printing, only came up a tick short of actually engaging and printing that 4th arrow. Well, have we finally found the end of the move? So that was just a crazy strong move lower. Dan's asking, was there a first micro macro cross signal on the hawk? No, not yet. There was one back here. This was a first micro macro cross signal. And it occurred because everything went out of sync. Your trend lines are out of sync, your bars are out of sync, your filter is out of sync. That was a first micro macro cross signal. This now is the first micro macro cross signal higher. The problem I have with that one is can't afford it. Where am I going to place my stop? I could place it down there and hope that the market doesn't retrace too deeply. Good morning, Peter. Peter writes, Eric, do you use a stop and reverse order, or do you wait for the trend to take shape? I know you, you guys are probably wondering what's he doing here this morning? Why is he letting the market just run out and not take a trade? Well, I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm perhaps not as sharp as I should be. The market's obviously run away. I'm assuming the market is going to only offer selling opportunities today because of the huge move to the downside. So since I missed all that initial action, I figured, well, I'll just wait for a pullback and for a chance to short the pullback. But now we've seen this monster move higher. This is a much larger reaction than what I was expecting, and I'm sure than most traders were expecting. So to answer your question, Peter, what I usually do is when I take my first trade of the day, and I'm not 100% sure about how the market's going to perform, I think of it as testing the waters. You know, you dip your toe in the water, you see what the market is like. Are they bullish or are they bearish? If they don't pay off on your initial order, so let's say, as in my instance, we were looking to sell, or I was looking to sell. So I shorted way back here. the market reversed and stopped me out. Right now I'm thinking, okay, they probably don't want to head lower. They're probably going to try to head higher. So at this point, I would wait for a confirmation that the market would head higher, probably in the form of a trend change signal of some sort on one of our tools. Unfortunately for me, I kind of got stuck on my laurels, if you will, and that trend change to the upside never came. And in fact, the market just kept producing sell signals. And by this point, it was, well, I'm too late. So there's no decent place to get in. I may as well wait for a pullback. And now we've got one of these. So the market is all over the board right now. But that was my logic. I don't usually use a stop and reverse, but I try to gauge who is in control of the market. So if I think the sellers are in control, I'm going to look for selling opportunities, even if it means passing on a buying opportunity. And if it seems that, let's say I take a short position and the sellers aren't in control, then I can safely assume that perhaps the market will pay off to the long side. I was correct about the sellers this morning. Unfortunately, my stop was too tight and I got stopped out prematurely. So here's an instance. Now we get a first micro macro cross, and I tell you, I take that signal almost blindly. But where do I cover this trade? I could try to cover it here in the crest of the macro line, but it's clearly a counter trend trade, isn't it? Because the market is obviously in a downtrend today. So where should I cover it? Well, if the market's in the downtrend, and I think the buyers are taking control, this spot down here at 4,700 will tell me whether the sellers are still in a downtrend or not, because obviously if the market's in a downtrend, it has to take out that low at 4,700. So trade manager says, well, Eric, if you're going to do that trade, you can't really afford it. Now we're coming back with macro pullback signals. I do suspect that we're going to get our first micro macro cross target if in fact we haven't reached it already. Let's set this up so that we can see whether we got the target. Nope. Came up a tick short of the target. Now we're getting macro pullback signals. I do suspect we're going to see a little bit of a rally here now. So we've got a trend change and a double pullback here now on the Raptor. And on the Raptor, Tony's asking, do you agree that the cloud in the NASDAQ is relatively narrow for such a move down, suggests that the market is not done yet as it's not oversold? Well, I totally agree that at this stage of the game, it seems as though the market is in a downtrend. However, if the buyers are going to continue to rally like this, well, that will put the nix on that in a hurry. And yeah, I guess you're right, Tony. The band is relatively narrow to some of the bands that we have seen. Like this would seem to be a much wider band. Oh, on the Eagle, Tony says. Well, the Raptor, of course, borrows the band from the Eagle, so it would be the same kind of thing. We got a green bar sell signal right here. A test at the extreme certainly seems feasible. And there will be selling as the market moves higher here. I think, given that it looks as though the market slowed its ascent somewhat, I think there must have been a lot of profit-taking orders here around 4,700. That's how it seems to me right now. That would be a great number to exit on. If you were short out of the open, that's a 50-point move. So we're getting plenty of valid signals. Here on the Hawk, got the first micro macro cross, the macro pullback signal. Here on the Raptor, had a nice little double pullback slash trend change signal, or cloud crossover, I suppose. Okay, so here come the sellers trying to push the market down. I would not let the slight flip in the band here negate this green bar sell on the Eagle. And given the context before, I think it would be prudent to wait for a second push on the signal so we know where the limit is of the sellers at this point, based on this little bar right here that flinched. Stops, again, unfortunately, stops got to go a long ways away. And the further away, the better. Now this is early. If the market is making a trend change here, it's going to hop around a little bit. Pardon me. I knew you were going to ask me that, Russell. Russell says, is that a rule of 3 on the Eagle? I know you're always looking for those. Remember, the rule of 3 is a counter trend signal. A counter trend is, by definition, going to be a riskier trade. Rule of 3 requires 2 elements. First, it requires a trend. Well, no question we have a trend. Second thing, it needs to produce signals against the band. So the band right now, the direction is bearish. We're producing buy signals. So we have that. The third and perhaps the most important thing is we need a test of the extreme being, in this case, the low. Now we have had a little test right here, but I don't know. Do you really think that given everything that we saw this morning, that huge downtrend, that this little push is all that the sellers can muster? This may well turn out to be the retest of the low. But I don't know. I think given the enormous downtrend from this morning, the market owes me a better retest of the low. Now that's not to say the market can't retreat high enough to hit your high probability target. In which case the rule of 3 is valid. This would be the third signal now. You could also consider that your trend change signal. But to my way of thinking, Russell, I think I need to see a better retest of the low. So perhaps a retest that comes down here somewhere, and then if the buyers reverse it, then I think we can say with more confidence that the sellers have lost their grip on the market. You got to be careful with those counter trend signals, right? The counter trend, the market will tip its hand when it's reversing trend, and it does it with this test of the extreme. So in the case of the downtrend, it's going to look like this. In the case of an uptrend, it's going to look like that. So unless you have the test of the extreme, you need to be careful about second guessing the market. Now, like I say, the ranges this morning are huge. And it may well be that there's enough room in there for the market to rally, hit your profit target, and come down and give a test of the extreme. But technically, I would not call this a rule of three yet. Now watch it rally and make a liar out of me. I think we're going to see one more move lower here. I think the market owes us one more move lower to give us that retest of the low. We might do a little bouncing around here before we get to it. So the selling that's going on now is everybody who missed the boat earlier. People like me who are looking for a second chance to short the market for a couple of dollars. All right, so we've hit the break even and we're just hovering above our profit target. Hooray for us. All right, I considered running it out, but you know what? After missing that earlier move, I think I'm just as happy to take my profit when I have it. When you have these strong trends, these strong moves, and they start to unwind, so the market starts to breach. Very often it's advisable to get on that first attempt to regain the trend. If you wait for the second one, you're going to be too late. Because there could be a transition going on here now. You see, now we're getting that. This I would consider to be a proper test of the extreme, a proper retest of the low. So if the market can rally from here, well then we open up the opportunity for the buyers. Now there too, given the context of a very strong downtrending market this morning, the buyers have really got to show up in force, and they have. You know, all last week, every single day started down and then finished strong. But what tends to happen is if you have a very strong downtrend, or a very strong uptrend for that matter, is the market may not make a full reversal from that. Rather, it may end up going sideways. That's why traders that follow 1, 2, 3 formations or things of that nature and just quickly a 1, 2, 3 formation, well, it's our test of the extreme. That would be the 1 point down here, that's the low. That's the 2 point, there's a little swing, and then the counter swing is the 3 point. So some traders call it a W formation, some call it a 1, 2, 3, in this case 1, 2, 3 bottom, and they wait for the market to take out this reactionary swing high. That kind of confirms that the sellers are done and that the buyers now have control. That's the whole premise behind that style formation. All right, well, things slowing down a little bit again. Nicely done, Mark. Mark says, I got that first late filter entry signal and managed to ride out the second one. Each one netted me $100, so I'm willing to sit back for now and watch a while, see what happens next. With 200 in the bank, nicely done, Mark. I love reading stuff like that. You know, when the markets come unglued and things are moving just a little bit too fast, and you're kind of scrambling, it's okay to wait. It's okay to let the market go by, let things settle down. Yeah, like Mark says, crazy days lately. It certainly has been. I love to see you guys making your own decisions as well. I know some of you piggyback my trades, and that's okay. Just bear in mind it's your money. You're the one who's ultimately responsible for it. Okay, we got here on the Hawk a couple of overlapping signals, a nice rule of three, and a green bar sell. Or did I say rule of three? I meant four arrow consolidation. I got rule of three on the brain. And again, you'll note that this one has a nice bear flag shape to it, almost textbook. It doesn't get much better than that. And then the overlapping green bar sell signal, which isn't the strongest signal that we have. It does tend to produce toward the end of a trend, but here, you know, we're looking for a retest of the low. I think that would be a decent opportunity to try to short. So you hit your profit target, and if you have a runner in, well, you're back down here toward the lows of the morning, or near the lows of the morning. I haven't seen any buying come back into the market. With this retest, I'm not a fib trader, but let's just throw a fib line on here. So with the market retesting, we should anticipate some buying to come here at least around the 50% level or the 62% level. If in fact the buyers were serious about trying to buy the market up, which does not seem to be the case right now. We got a battle brewing, boys and girls. The buying did show up, but look at where it did. Right down at the lows, or just shy of the low by a couple of ticks. Couple of points, I should say. Yeah, Andrew says, I'd love to see crude oil finally move. The NASDAQ is acting like crude oil, and crude oil is acting like the NASDAQ. Look at this. Crude oil still, blah, nothing. Sideways. All these yellow bar clusters just stuck. Overnight, not too bad. At least it had a little bit of movement to it, but I'm not sure what they're waiting for here in the North American session, but nothing's going on. All right, here on the Raptor and the Falcon, we actually produced buy signals. And we're going to produce a first micro-macro cross signal here on the Hawk. Yeah, I should be following gold. Tony says gold's giving some good opportunities. Gold, a pretty decent day trading market as well. So you can see we've produced the first micro-macro cross signal. I'm looking to enter above the high because it's only another tick or two. And what I'm banking on is that this recent swing down has been our test of the extreme. We looked at it on the Eagle. So I'm looking to capitalize on this support holding. Wow. Look at that. The sellers are just crushing the buyers. Yeah, well, we're going to get a red bar buy signal down here. I don't know if I want to try to buy that, quite honestly. It's going to take some serious courage. The good news is, oh, well, the signal's gone. The good news is you can cover the trade relatively tight. And there's no way I'd go in with 3 contracts. I might throw a single on it. But I don't need to worry about it because its signal has evaporated. So yellow bars coming back now into the hawk. We might get a soft edge buy signal here on the Raptor. This being the test of the extreme. This low right here. So if we come back with a buy signal, that could be the buyers trying to push the market up. All right, so now the hawk producing another first micro macro cross signal lower. It might be advisable to scalp out of this one given its proximity to the lows. Come on, get up there, get into yellow bars so I don't even need to think about you. So they drifted low enough to hit your high probability target. I just had a single in there as a runner. These lows of the morning, though, they're giving me pause. I know there's buying down here. All right, so the hawk, excuse me, and the raptor might produce the buy signal here shortly. We'll look here at the raptor. So we're retesting the lows. Right now the market not that keen on breaking through there. Well, there you go. That's all you have to do is say they're not keen on breaking through there, and there they go. So what I thought might happen is I thought the market may hesitate here and then come back, retest this little area up here around 47.09, 47.10, and maybe produce a buy signal. Oh, well, here they come. Come on, give me just a little itty bitty test. Retest. So what I'm looking for now is a confirmation of the trend change on the Falcon. Our Falcon trend line has changed color. Okay, we're getting a good retest here now on the Raptor. If the Raptor comes back now with a buy signal, that will confirm our soft edge buy. Stop should go below the lows. And that should confirm at least a short-term move higher. Either that or the sellers are just going to keep spanking the buyers. Just take them out to the woodshed. All right, so we've got our retest. All the pieces to the puzzle are starting to come into place. Oh, maybe spoke too soon. This is a double pullback signal on the Raptor. You may want to take it below the low rather than right on the hash mark. Same thing would be true here of the trend change signal on the Falcon. Wow. Wow. Craziness. What a tough market. Tough in the sense that the sellers just don't want to let go of it. They are hammering the buyers. All right, so here they come again. The buyers, I mean. And you can tell the buyers are getting a little stronger. See, we're starting to introduce more yellow bars here on the hawk. The swings themselves are starting to track a little sideways. See, visually it's starting to look as though maybe, just maybe, we're producing a little bit of a bottom. If you were inclined to be a little bit more aggressive, we have a green bar sell here on the hawk, which you could look to buy. The failure I was waiting for the soft edge buy on the Raptor, but it may be that the hawk signal is going to produce earlier. It is counter trend. You know, perhaps what I should do is I should only throw a single on this. Ooh, shoot, get that order in, Eric. There we go. All right, well, the seller's obviously not out of this, not by a long shot. So we're getting another first micro-macro cross. All these signals to sell. You can take your pick. It might be advisable, given the way the market is right now, to go all in, all out on target. Well, the talking heads will have lots to talk about this morning. All right, well, it's nearly the top of the hour. I think we're going to close up the room here in a few minutes. The market obviously in a downtrend today. Your best opportunities are going to come from waiting for a little bit of a pullback, perhaps even, drawing a trend line, looking for the market to give you some sort of signal that coincides with the trend line. Don't forget the larger trend line that's looming here somewhere. But I don't think you want to be too quick to buy. I thought for a moment there that we were seeing the market bottom out, but no, that's not the case. We're in a full-blown bear market today. Tony's asking, has anybody tried version 8 of NinjaTrader? I haven't upgraded yet. I'm notoriously slow for upgrading software, probably because I don't want to deal with the bugs if there are any. But to my understanding, NinjaTrader version 8 is already pretty clean, and it does offer some very nice additions. All right, ladies and gents, I will catch you again tomorrow morning, and we'll do it all over again. Bye for now.